Hello, everyone. After a long hiatus, because I've been studying songs in an academy because it's something I want to handle later. So that's why I've been kind of out because I've been doing all the intro and I've been trying to do it as quickly as possible to get, to start getting to the good stuff, right? And it's still going rather well, if you were wondering. But, hi again. Today I want to make a review of Mulan and I'm going to try to be as subjective as possible. In my humble opinion, I'm going to start with the score right now. I'm giving it a 7 out of 10 because it is watchable and it is rather enjoyable, but there are some things which to me were a little bit problematic, at least in a movie perspective. To give you some context, I give it a higher score than, for example, Captain Marvel, which is, well, it's a very low score, but Captain Marvel was watchable, but Mulan doesn't have what Captain Marvel is plagued by, which is basically Mary Sueish and SJW crap. So let's start with that. The pros of Mulan is the fact that it's not SJW crap. People were afraid that, well, they weren't going to change her race. At least that was a gimme. I mean, oh my god, it would have been horrible. And they didn't change her sexuality either. So that part is great because some people were also afraid, oh, they're going to try to make her a lesbian. Some people were asking for her to make her black. Don't ask me why. So that's a good part. This is not a feminist movie in the sense of third, fourth, fifth wave feminism. It could be claimed that it is a old style feminism. The good one. Let's call it that way if you want to see it that way. To allow women the place that they do, deserve, and get just you cannot just be a silent wife just because you're a woman, right? I mean that tradition came for a reason in the past, because you were like tribal and, ex-tribal always wanted to kill white tribesmen to take the women. So you had to have certain roles to protect them. And that came from that. But, times, in modern, those that, where the movie is set, where the movie is set, the time is different. So those things are no longer needed. There's a lot of internal stuff here, which is a pro and a con. It's gonna have its pros and cons. The pro is it's internal because it has some depth. All this about principles, about being brave, about being true, and all these kind of things. And I also like the fact that this is totally against leftist policies, against SJW bullshit, all this kind of stuff. Is the focus on devotion to family. One thing you will notice, and I hope this is not too much of a spoiler, is that although she's trying to break some paradigms, she does it in a respectful way. She's not a rebellious little bitch who paints her hair and then just shouts people down and is a complete idiot. No, she's very respectful, and even though she wants to break this because she had to in many ways, in order to be devoted to family and all this kind of things, she never goes against the laws of the land and the norms of the society of the time. She respectfully, she earns that place through in the eyes of the emperor, in the eyes of the people, and all that kind of things. And she never shies away. She doesn't say, oh no, this shouldn't be, I'm gonna break it. No, she is like, okay, I know what I did was in this order wrong, but I had to do it and it's right because of this. Okay, that's a very, plus for me, because it's not like what we see today, right? Like they're trying to throw the baby with the bathwater. Oh, let's get rid of principles, moral relativity, and all these kind of things. So that to me is a very big plus of this movie, this respect of this kind of thing. And it also shows how the process of society, because the societal norms, natural society norms, tend to change over time. But let's be honest, it tends to be a little slow, and there's a reason for this, because traditions that people in the left, SJWs, hate are actually the biggest representation of science that you know. What do I mean by that? Science is, the capacity to repeat and get results, X results, and you can predict these results. Well, traditions are actions that are repeated through time that generate good results, and all these things worked. Like what I said about those, the position of women before that time, they worked for a reason. Because you couldn't go outside, willy nilly, because you're gonna be eaten by a saber-tooth tiger, or you're gonna be captured and used as a sex slave by the tribe that's over there that wants to take you, right? Kill all your men and take you. Okay, that I understand. So they had to be very like a very homesteadish role. They couldn't go out. Okay, it changes because now the society is larger, it's a little more civilized, and all these kind of things. Those things don't apply anymore. Well, except of course in the borders, and this is about an invasion. So okay, it does apply in a macro scale, but no longer in the very micro scale that you couldn't even talk to the village that's 20 minutes away. So that part to me is a plus. In the military respect of this movie, it has like two sides. It has one positive and one negative. The positive side to me is that, since I'm focusing on this one right now, is that it tends to be much more believable. What do I mean by that? As I said, this is not a fifth wave feminist movie. Not like Birds of Prey, where you have a 100-pound girl beating the crap out of 250-pound men with her bare fists. She uses one thing, and that's very important. She uses a weapon, and weapons tend to be equalizers. I can give a spear to a 60-pound kid, and I don't care if you weigh 300 pounds of pure muscle. If that spear is jabbed into your stomach and you have no armor whatsoever, it's going to hurt and it's going to kill you. It doesn't matter how strong you are, all these kind of things. So her fighting scenes are very realistic, specifically hers. Because she can kill other people who are stronger and bigger than her, because she uses a weapon, and what she does is she uses dodge mostly. And actually, another good thing is that that goes in line with this is that she tends to use a lot of teamwork in order to get these things done. She doesn't just outright, oh, I defeat the bad guy because I am this awesome chick. No, she gets her ass handed to her a lot of times, which is also very relatable. And I like that because it takes away from the Mary Sue-ish of the character, as because many people would have thought she would have been a Mary Sue, like in the case of Captain Marvel. She actually needs the help of others as a team to get her results. And when she's on one-on-one, many times she is defeated. And I'm not going to tell you how exactly because there will be spoilers, but you're going to see what I mean by being defeated. Okay, I'm going to give you a hint. Picture this. She gets Expelliarmus rather often, so she requires aid to fulfill her goals. That being said, the negative side of the the military thing is that all the battles, in my opinion, have been done better. When you watch these Asian type movies, wushu, and all these kind of things, it has been done better before, and militarily just didn't make much sense. Especially how the battles, not the end ones, but the one in the middle, you'll know which one I mean, the big one. It didn't make much sense because this happens in most Hollywood movies where they don't respect, how do you call this, the war, how war was done in those days, because war was done by formations, and there's a reason for that. This tends to devolve into a 1v1 Matrix style melee, which doesn't make any sense because then you think like if it devolved that way, then if I manage to kill my opponent, then I just look for my friends fighting with other people, just stab them in the back and just go backstabbing everyone. No, there's a reason why formation warfare was very useful, and kind of breaks with that. There's some scenes where there's a thing, you're gonna see what I mean. There is no freaking way that thing has that kind of aim. But I'm pretty sure they just added it for dramatic effect, and like visually it's fine. You can see the same mistake in the movies like 300, right? Let's be honest, they could have just stayed in phalanx formation in the opening there, the whole movie. And that's kind of like what did happen in history, and the results would have been what you'd expect. But no, it devolved into like them rushing out and just one-on-one fighting people using their swords instead of their spears. In this case, this is going to be a very mild spoiler, like the Rorons, who are, an expression, an ancient Chinese expression for what the northern tribes were called. So they're no longer called the Huns in this movie, right? They basically didn't wear any armor, so they were charging off the iron or steel lamellar armored army with heavy shields and spears. That will go as well as you would expect the way they try to do it. It was terrible, and they weren't taking advantage of their missile capabilities and all these kind of things. And again, somehow it all devolved into a one-on-one melee. Everyone against everyone. Just you stand here with one guy, and your other guy over there is like 3 feet away. Well, not 3 feet, like 10 feet away over there. Another 10 feet over, 15 feet over. It just evolved like that. So literally, you can ride a horse in between them, and just if you manage to catch everyone on their back, you would just start fragging them all. That part I'm not very fond of personally, as weapons medieval style geeks. But as I said, though, what I like is the fact that she uses weapons as an equalizer. The HEMA community and even role-playing community could tell you that. I mean, it doesn't matter how much the difference between strength and weight. If you have a weapon, it's a great equalizer. That's why I'm a very big supporter of the Second Amendment, especially women to be able to carry weapons. Because trust me, it is a lot more difficult to rape someone if you have a 9mm ready to go and you know how to use it. Even if you walk in a very dark alley, which you shouldn't, but that's another story. Another that was a positive, as I said, the depth, the principles, and these kind of things, the respect of these things, the respect of tradition, the respect of the norms, etc., and the seek to evolve these norms instead of just break the order. It has a downside, which then you lose a lot of the outside aspects of the movie, which kind of makes it like a watered down version. And this is something that one can compare with the original animated version of over 20 years ago. Sure, this movie tried to be more realistic and more in tune to the actual story of Mulan. If you just Google the story of Mulan and you watch this movie, you will see that it's much more tied, because it was more of an internal thing, a societal thing, and all these kind of things. But the animated version was more of an outside thing, like the flashes, the emotions, all these kind of things, which are pretty lost in this movie. Even the score in the original one, I'm not talking about singing like, oh my god, man, how do you know? The scores, which were much more emphatic in the original animated than it was in this one. So it could come off as a little bland when it comes to external aspects like those. And it is very understandable. Another issue was that there's some, I'm not going to call, to not spoil it too much, she relies on something that's basically space magic, but that space magic is available to everyone, so it's not like only hers. You see other characters use it as well, males, in fact, so it's not like, oh, only women can use it, all these kind of things, right? And they actually have to team up with another male with space magic in order to beat final bad guy. That's not much of a spoiler, but it is sort of, but The problem with this is that she has a very specific signature move. And although you can claim that you can see when she was a child, she was training with her dad. Dad was a great warrior and all these kinds of things. So you do see that, there's a reason why she can do the things she can do. So that's fine. It's not like, again, not like a Mary Sue, not like a Ray, for instance, who you can, you can't figure out how she got her skills. I mean, she was a young girl, a very attractive young girl, basically left alone on a planet. So you can assume, okay, she learned to protect herself, or otherwise she would have been robbed, killed, raped, or whatever. So okay, you can, but you don't ever see that. You kind of see this here, but she does have one signature move that she uses very often. That it came out of nowhere. It would have been nice if there would have been scenes where you kind of see her do it, so you understand where that comes from. So that's what I mean with the external aspect of the movie. That's where you lose a lot of the things here. So given that, it becomes a little problematic. Other than that, as I said, I think it's an enjoyable movie to watch. It is watchable. You can even watch it a couple of times. It won't get boring, in my opinion, if you're a lot interested in this, like in the internal aspects, which I tend to be, right? I will let my opinion maybe change over time, as you've seen. When I get new information or something, I will change my opinion and state it out. If I like to specifically watch two YouTubers, one is Filmento and the other one is like Stories of Old. If they give me a different perspective, they tend to change my mind on a lot of things. Sometimes I thought movies were bad and they change me towards good, and vice versa. Because they tend to see the more technical cinematographical aspects of it, and I tend to just focus a lot of the internal stuff, like the principles, traditions, and all these kind of things. So that's why I liked it. I liked it because of those things. But I do know that a lot of people enjoy the other ones, and that's why they won't enjoy it as much as I would, because they prefer the other ones. And not saying that that's bad. It's just normal. What I do see a lot is that a lot of reviews, because I started watching reviews earlier, is that there's a lot of hate of this movie specifically because they hate Disney. And if you watch these reviews, I'm going to be honest, that's why I give you the ones I gave you, because they tend to be a lot more objective. These people were like, I hate Disney, so I think this movie is going to be shit. So I just got to make up stuff in order to say that this movie is shit. Like, there's a scene where she went somewhere, a flanking maneuver, and we never saw her get there. It's like, actually, you can see it. She literally sees that. She literally gets on her horse. She takes the material she needed for this flanking maneuver. Very obviously, she got there and she did it for a reason. So, he was just trying to make it up in order to say, it's sick. Something like that. Some of them gave me these outer aspects that I told you about, and I agree with that. Not as detailed when I talk about the lamellar armor, the formation, and all that kind of stuff. But he is right in those kind of things, so that's fine. As I told you, it's because you try to be as objective as possible. But I'm fearing with what I've seen in this movie that this is just another swing in the pendulum. Like, let's be honest, the people in the right are the ones who are, trying to swing the pendulum the other way because the left pushed it a little too far. But it's no point if you push the pendulum way too far, which is actually part of what this movie is about. It's like you trying to swing the pendulum to get to a new balanced position, but not do it so stupidly and break everything. And let me put it this way: if this was a BLM and Tifa movie, she would literally be the one who assassinates the emperor and becomes empress to make her order, the basically new Palpatine in the universe and set her commands for China and all these kind of things, which will make the movie rather stupid. Again, I said she's very respectful of traditions and all these kind of things. So that's the equivalent. But if we go back in U.S. history specifically, this happened during the Bush years. This was the right's pendulum swinging too hard. They're the ones who started with the censorship, overspending, infinite wars, and all these kind of things. And Obama, all he did was swing the pendulum all the way to the other side and just did it worse. He did more debt spending, he did more race relations problems, he did more censorship, she spent more on wars than Bush. So it became it became like totally distasteful. And now you have Trump, who is, in many ways, I gotta admit, he's trying to bring the pendulum to the other side, and he's trying not to take it too far, because, for instance, he's trying to stop censorship and not, okay, now it's the other team who's being censored. Like, he denounces, for example, all the right voices, right-wing voices to be shut up from platforms, but he doesn't do what Bush did, which was silence the left side voices. And in many cases, moderates and conservatives in the U.S. tend to be this way. They tend to get their news from right-wing, independent, and left-wing medias, while the left only checks from left-wing medias. So I can understand that. I think that's a good thing, because they're trying to bring a lot more balance to the pendulum swing. But then you have these people who I just hate it because it's Disney and all these kinds of things. Yeah, Kathleen Kennedy's a piece of shit. Okay, sure, she's a piece of shit. She did a lot of bad things, but that has nothing to do with this one. I mean, you can take the same universe, Star Wars, and okay, you get the Mandalorian, you get the Clone Wars, Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau. Jon Favreau's a little bit of a lefty, and guess what? He does great stuff. Let's take Ryan Johnson even. Okay, sure, The Last Jedi was shit. Okay, he fucked up. Perfect. But Knives Out is pretty good. So you have to learn to separate events. It's like I was talking with another person the other day, like, oh, Kyle Rittenhouse beat the crap out of a woman. Okay, that's bad, and if he did it in an illegitimate way, he should be punished for it. But that has no bearing in what happened in Ferguson. Was it Ferguson? Yeah, okay. That has no bearing there. Because there it was the opposite. He was totally defending himself. It was purely self-defense, and the people who were attacking him were all evil. They have a very bad... I mean, this guy sodomized 9-year-olds, the guy who got shot in the head, and he rushed him. And someone else shot at him first, so screw that. I don't care. And, the example I tend to give is Michael Phelps, who is someone I really admire. Like, oh, yeah, he did drugs, that's illegal, boo-hoo. Okay, sure. In that moment, okay, he did something you consider immoral. Weed, I don't really care. He did something wrong and illegal. Okay, there. But that doesn't take away the fact that he's the best Olympian of all time. You can't take the fact that, he did smoke weed. Oh, okay, we're going to add 15 seconds to his Olympian time. No, it doesn't work that way. Okay, there are different moments. And I gotta admit that I think Mulan... Now, Disney, I gotta give them props for trying to do something different as opposed to other remakes, which is almost scene-by-scene comparisons, the same thing. And for instance, Aladdin is the same thing. They just added a little more and went a little more too much to the feminist side with Jasmine. And I don't remember if the Lion King they actually added any scenes. I don't think so. So I give them props for that. But as I said, I think they failed in the external parts, as I said, of the movie. So it can feel a little bland, like I said, where she got the move and all these kind of things. Okay, perfect. That's perfectly fine. And the military aspects of the movie don't make as much sense as they could for that kind of budget, let's be honest, because it's $200 million. But you can't go on the way and Disney has done these mistakes because they have done a lot of good stuff and try to paint a broad stroke over it and say everything they do is bad and then try to make stuff up in order to do it and just try to oh, look, even the SJW is hated. Okay, the SJW is hated because they didn't make her a black lesbian, but why do you hate it? It respects family values, principles, respects tradition. She's not a feminist. She doesn't shame men. She needs men as a team. She's a team player. What's the problem then? I mean, ideologically, you have no problem here, so why are you trying to shit on it? And then, it's Chinese bots and all these kind of things. It actually hasn't come out there yet. The botting actually was from people who started writing the September 2nd or 3rd before the movie was even out and just gave it a 0. That's just stupid. As I said, you can find a lot of flaws, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to find a few more when I see it through the perspective of people, like people who have been objected, like Phil Mento and like Stories of Old. Phil Mento tends to be more of the outside thing, and Stories of Old tends to be more of the inside thing, so I like to watch these two to give me a broader perspective of things. And I think everyone should do that, and not just hate it because it's the Disney. Disney evil, Disney SJW. I mean, you just got a doomcock telling us that Disney is changing direction, that they learned their lesson, get woke, go broke, and they're trying to change their ways. I think everyone deserves a second chance. And in my humble opinion, you should give Mulan a chance. Give it a watch. Watch it with the family. Oh, the $30. Okay, that's only a problem if you're a lonely little shit. And if you are, that's on you, dude. I watched it with my whole family. And, some friends too. So what, we're going to watch it 15 people in one go? Okay, that becomes $2. That's nothing. I mean, even a freaking soda is much more expensive than that. And what if you watch it more than once? Maybe your kids want to watch it more than once. There you go. It goes down to almost 0. So they give me that $30 bullshit. Oh yeah, but they're trying to. They fucked up all the people in the movie theaters. Well, not all. It can still come out because Disney Plus is not available everywhere. But you have to understand that this was a $200 million hole there, and it's been, 6 months since it should have come out. You can understand that anyone would have done the same thing. I'm not saying this is the best thing they could have done. I would have loved to see it on the theater. It was gonna come out for my birthday, and coronavirus fucked me over. So I wanted that movie for my birthday. I wanted to watch it in 4D because I'm one of those guys. But as I said, I mean, be a little more pragmatic and try to understand what you're looking at, and not just hate it because of what it is. I mean, even Black Lives Matter, for instance, which I don't like. I understand why it started, and that's why I have a video about understanding the plight of African Americans. I understand. And many people who started and many people who participate are people who did it for the right reasons. They just turned it into a Democrat shithole now, and they try to, promote these riots to think it was going to affect Trump, but now that the polls say the opposite, they're trying to walk back on that, but the internet never forgets. It's all there. We must never stop. If you see them there, shout them down and let them know they're not welcome and all these kind of things. You gotta keep fighting. You gotta be even harder than you were. I mean, we got them all there. They said it. They never literally said go and riot, but okay, maybe I should stop because I'm going away from Mulan and going to this. But the point is, even if something that I don't like BLM, I can understand. So, same with this movie. If you take away your ideological goggles of Disney bad, Disney SJW, this movie is not. So why do you try to find some SJW thing in here when there is none? Or for the Christ's sake, whenever she talks to a figure of authority, she's on her freaking knees and the famous kung fu position like this. That's not feminist at all. So that went away. Try to see it, watch it, and it's actually, because like I said, good for the family. You will teach something that this society needs a lot, which is devotion to family, to have a very united family. This is at 7 out of 10. That's my review. If I get, as I said, if I get any new information, I'll post it out there. But that's been me. See you around.